All right, guys, this is my review of mainly just what I did not like in the Rise of Skywalker, with a mix of what I did like. This is my second time recording this because the first time I recorded it, apparently the audio just did not record, and I'm hoping this time that it does. There's no guarantee. I'll find out in post. I could just stop recording right now, then check if it recorded the audio, but that's too much work. I'm just gonna go for the next 20 minutes and talk about it, then find out after the fact. So let's get to it. I wrote a list out of things while I was in the theaters, just scrawled little pieces out while I was watching the movie. It's dark in the theater. Can't read my own handwriting. That's okay. Gonna try anyway. We're gonna talk about this. I'll talk about some of the things I did like, but this is mainly what I did not like in The Rise of Skywalker. Before I get to that, though, I would like to say this was by far the best of the three sequel trilogy movies that they've made. They've answered a lot of questions. They even went back and added some stuff that makes people happy. Like spoilers, by the way. Like when they gave the medal to Chewie at the end because he didn't get one when he was in Episode 4, blowing up the Death Star, and they were giving everybody medals. So, yeah, let me go right to it. So the first thing I have on my notes list is the dead speak. I thought that was really weird. Just completely strange intro. That's the first word you see on the opening crawl. The dead speak. And you're like, what does that mean? And so it talks about how there's a message that was given out to everybody, basically, the entire galaxy, with Palpatine's voice. And it doesn't really explain how it's being transmitted, who really is getting it. It says it's being transmitted everywhere, but it turns out that the only person who knows about it is Kylo Ren. And yeah, that was an awkward beginning. And then you see Kylo Ren finding a waypoint. Don't know how he found that waypoint, but it's a very big deal to find one. There's only two. It takes forever. It's half of the story to find the waypoint for Rey and the gang. But for him, he just somehow knows where it is, goes and gets it, takes it, goes straight to Palpatine. So we don't really get any insight on how he found that. And it was a big deal. So that was a little weird. The next thing you see that really bothered me is the light speed skipping. And I am all for suspension of disbelief in movies when it abides by the rules of the universe that it's in. So if you create some rules in the universe, you keep with those rules. I don't care how outlandish those rules are, as long as you keep with those rules. They don't do that. The light speed skipping, they're somehow able to jump to light speed, jump out of light speed, jump to light speed, jump out of light speed, all manually without any computerized tracking of where they're going, and not hit anything. And you'd think, okay, yeah, if they come out in the middle of space, yeah, they didn't go very far, they came out and they're still in space. No, they're landing in like cities and stuff. They're landing in places where there's asteroids. They're landing in places where they, by all means, should just be blowing up by hitting things. But they're not. And they make a big deal about that in the books, movies, TV show, all of that, where they have to have hyperspace lanes that they go into and make sure they're not hitting anything. And that's not what they do here at all. And they did the same thing in the Force Awakens, where Han Solo, manually comes out of light speed just in time to get into the planet's atmosphere for a Starkiller base. And I didn't like that. Nobody has reflexes fast enough to do that. It's light speed. You can't beat light speed in a reflex contest, but that's what they're doing. So that's one of my biggest gripes there. But by far the one thing I really hated was the transporting items between Kylo and Rey. They did it once in The Last Jedi, where rain fell on Rey and Kylo had rain on him. He was wet after the conversation, even though he was inside one of his destroyers. Didn't like that, but I chalked it up to, okay, they just wanted to make this look, they wanted to make it kind of a cool thing where they're talking and he's feeling what she's feeling. But they went too far in this one. He grabs a necklace off of her, physically has it, was able to track them using it. That's too much. And then later, for some reason, she does this magic trick where she has her lightsaber and she's like, oh, hey, here's my lightsaber. I'm going to put it behind my back. And magically, it disappeared. Oh, and then Kylo's like, I don't have a weapon. Let me reach behind my back. Wow, I have a lightsaber now. They didn't even need to do that scene, but they did. The reason they didn't need to do that scene is because they could have just not have Kylo throw away his only weapon and then not have a weapon when going against the biggest baddies in the universe. But more on that later. So, transporting items, didn't like it. Thought that was really dumb. I'm okay with them seeing the items in the other room or something like that, but I'm not okay with them pulling them from the other worlds, their other universes, wherever they are. They're just like time and space doesn't mean anything when it comes to the force yanking stuff. So there's that. There's a few cringy moments. Like the jetpack troopers have been in every single generation of Star Wars, but for some reason they fly now. They fly now. They fly now. And you'll see a lot of hate on that from the internet already. So that's nothing new. People have been like complaining about that since the trailer came out, but it really didn't fit very well. Directly after that, they find Ochi's ship, and one of the troopers finally gets a shot on each of them, and he shoots the front of their ships, and they all go flying out and all land in this small pit of quicksand, perfectly in it, all of them, and it's the only quicksand in the area. How can you randomly hit it like that? And it turns out they needed to get in that quicksand to go through the bottom of it so that they can find this tomb that Luke somehow missed before. But there it is. And then Ochi's ship is sitting there right on top of a rock, not scavenged. And all of these planets, Jakku, Tatooine, all of them, they got Jawas and things like that going around scavenging items. And this thing's right outside of the city, based off of how long it took them to speeder bike over there. It felt like no time at all. Don't know how long it actually took, but I imagine it wasn't far. But they go there, and there's this full ship right there on a rock that anybody could see and take. Apparently not locked at all. They were able to just grab it and go, but for some reason it's there unscavenged. That's uncomfortable to me, to think that they make so much of a deal about scavengers in these movies, and then there's not any but things scavenged on that ship. I mean, just in the new Mandalorian episodes, and well, not even in the new ones. The first episode, the Mandalorian leaves his ship, then goes, does a mission, comes back, and Jawas have just destroyed it. And that's just the theme with leaving things behind. It's going to be gone. Somebody's going to take it. Everybody's a thief. But not on this planet. Ochi's ship has been there for years and years and years and years and years, and nobody's taken anything from it, including the droid. So there's that. And then directly after that, there's a really great scene where Kylo and Rey were pulling on a transport ship, and that transport ship's getting yanked back and forth until she gets angry and then zaps lightning at it by accident, which is the very moment that most people should realize she's Palpatine's descendant. But sometimes it takes a little longer. But that moment was extremely visually intense. It was stressful. I felt the stress. And then when they make you think kind of that Chewie just dies in the explosion, that's really upsetting. It's a gut-wrenching feeling. You kind of know it's not really him in there. He's probably on another transport ship, but for the moment when you have that slight inkling of did they just really kill him off that way, it hurt. An off-screen death for a beloved character. So I'm glad they didn't go with that, but it really hurt for a second to think it was happening. Next thing, the mind trick that was shown at the Fortnite event. I saw it on YouTube because I don't play Fortnite, but they did the Jedi mind trick thing, and it makes me wonder, is she going to master every force power? She can heal, she can mind trick, she can touch things and sense memories, she can lift everything with the force, she can float, she can stop blaster bullets, she can deflect them, she can stop lightsaber strikes. Everything that you can possibly want to do with the Force, she can do. I can't think of a power that they've shown that she can't. She can even do the electricity. So when does she get a nerf? And is that patch coming anytime soon, or should we just deal with it for the time being? I don't get it. She's too powerful. It's entertaining. I know why they do it. It's like, hey, let's show what the Force can really do. But when you got, Jedi Masters that have never done any of these tricks ever in all of the episodes prior, it's a little upsetting to see just the newbie come in and master all of it. And you could be like, oh, well, she was trained by Leia. How long was she trained by Leia? They don't really say, but they're just throwing all these tricks at her, and she just masters all of them just like that. So, not a huge fan of that, but I also do like the tricks. So it's a double-edged sword. One side is me being happy to see cool new Force tricks that should have been around. The other side is, why is she learning all of this stuff in the matter of no time at all? So there's that. The next thing I have on this list is Hux. Yeah, it was pretty obvious he was a spy, especially when they got to the point where he was asking for the blaster. So there's no surprise when you hear the then they turn around, oh, Hux, I'm the spy. But I really hated his death. It was so uncomfortable. Just the pew, and then his body just goes flop. It upset me just a bit. But Hux as a character in this movie I really liked. He didn't care if they won. He just cared that Kylo lost. That made sense. And then also when he was like, your helmet, good job. I liked that. It's awkward. Hux is always awkward. But yeah, that was upsetting. I didn't really care for him as a character in the first movie, just because, I didn't care for him as a character much in any of the movies, but I didn't hate him. I thought he was a necessary character. So when they kind of made fun of him on The Last Jedi, I thought it was a little childish to put that kind of humor in a Star Wars movie. But you got to have some sort of jokes, I guess. All right, let's go to the next thing that I really hated, the blade map. And the first time I recorded this, I went on a long tangent on this, so I'm going to try to go on a less long tangent. I'm going to make this more concise. The blade. The shape of the blade mapped out perfectly with the wreckage of the Death Star and pointed into the wreckage where the actual artifact was. So this blade had to have been forged after the Death Star was destroyed, but why would whoever forged this blade not just take that item from the destroyed Death Star and remove it from there? And the only other option is that it was made before the Death Star was destroyed, but that means whoever made the blade would have absolute premonition of it being destroyed and somehow let that happen, let them make the Death Star in the first place, knowing it's going to be destroyed. So whoever made this blade knew things. And also the fact that Rey pulls that blade and is in the exact right spot around the Death Star to get it lined up perfectly where it needs to be. Like, there's no wrong angle or anything. She's just right there. She puts it out. She's like, that's the thing. Made no sense. I hated the whole blade thing. I would have been happier if the blade just glowed blue like Sting when he gets near his orcs, that would have been better to me. But the fact that the blade had this little, protractor, compass, whatever you call it, protractor I think is the word, come out and point at the thing while she's sitting there holding it up to the wreckage. The blade was bad. I don't like it. Maybe I misunderstood. I don't know, but they didn't explain it enough, so I didn't like it. Next thing you got is this entire army, fleet, and everything coming from the Emperor. Where did he get his army of people? Like, is he cloning again? Did he get a bunch of Kaminoans just chained up somewhere telling them, hey, clone troopers, I need them, let's make them? Or did he somehow conscript a bunch of, like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of stormtroopers in secret from who knows where? I don't know. It looks like the First Order was already doing that, so where did he get his troops? And who's building the ships? What are the resources? Is it the Starforge from Knights of the Republic just creating these ships? I don't get it, where he got all the ships. But on top of that, they had to make it so that every ship is a Death Star. Every single one of them could destroy planets. And that was over the top for me as well. Didn't like it. Didn't think they needed to do that. It's scary enough having that fleet. That fleet was scary and huge. But, they did what they did. Next thing I didn't like is ghosts using the Force. They set that up in The Last Jedi. You have Yoda using lightning to destroy the sacred text in the tree. Well, destroying the sacred text didn't really do it, but that was kind of dumb, I thought, when I first saw it. But it got even worse when Luke catches the lightsaber and then hands it back, then shows her the other lightsaber, and then lifts the X-Wing up with the Force. It's like, if they have these Force powers, why don't they just help with battles? You know, when she's sitting there fighting Kylo Ren, why don't you be chucking rocks at him with the Force as a Force ghost to keep him distracted so she wins the fight? You know, you got these powers, use them, but they don't. They don't use the powers at all. And you could make the argument, oh, you only see them on their own planets and whatnot when they're the Force ghosts. But then no, Yoda was never on the Sanctuary planet. Luke met Obi-Wan on Dagobah. They can be anywhere. So there's no reason for them to not be everywhere helping. They can do it. You could see them doing it, but they just don't do it. So there's that. I didn't like the beacons not letting the ships take off. There's never been something like that in Star Wars that I've ever seen. Oh, the ship can't take off if we destroy the beacon that tells it how to take off. When? Since when? When is that a thing? And why doesn't every single ship have a repeater on there for the beacon? Because the main control ship had one. The ground had one. If you have a fleet that big and it's taken out by just destroying a beacon, that's so dumb. That's bad writing. That's bad writing. No army and no military force that's in its right mind is going to make all of your ships be able to take off and land based off of a single beacon with no backup beacons around except for one ship. It's lazy writing. I didn't like that. That shouldn't have been in the movie. They should have just had it so that they had a control ship, and the control ship has the guy who's in charge of everybody else. I don't know. I can't even figure out a good way to write that out. I didn't like the way they wrote it in. So we're going to leave it at that. My favorite part is when the movie became Endgame. So Poe is on his own. He's about to go fight Thanos. And then out of nowhere, he hears "on your left," and then a bunch of orange orbs open up, and an entire army comes out to fight with him. And then Rey is fighting Thanos, and Thanos goes, "I am inevitable," and she goes, "I am Iron Man," and beats him. That was great. If you haven't watched the movie yet, either of those movies, I'm talking about when Poe is by himself saying we're all alone, and Lando comes in and it's just like, no, we're not. We have a whole army, and then the army comes out. It's just like Endgame. They rewrote the whole like scene. And then when Palpatine goes, "I am all of the Sith," and she goes, "But I am all of the Jedi." It legit was just, it felt like a copycat role there. It was nice. If I had seen this first and not Endgame, I would have thought it was amazing writing and good, but it really just felt like a copy paste job within a different universe. So that was weird. Yeah. So there's that. Overall, I liked the movie. I enjoyed it. It was my favorite of the sequel movies. I'd give it a top 5 of my Star Wars movies, probably higher than that, but I have to watch it a few more times to figure out if I really think that. The lightsaber choreography was really good this time compared to that stupid choreography that they had in the throne room. The throne room choreography in episode, or the Last Jedi, the Red Room. The more you look at it, the worse that choreography was. But they had some cool parts where like Kylo turns on and off the lightsaber to kill that guard. That was nice. But like weapons go missing in the middle of like holding a weapon and then it's no longer there happens in The Last Jedi, and people are spinning around, slicing the air at nothing. This one, it's all one-on-one battles for the most part, and so every lightsaber fight looks really good. Everything about Kylo and Rey, I enjoyed. I didn't like the fact that they all want to throw their lightsabers away. Those things are hard to come by. Kyber crystals aren't just the black market thing that you can just go pick up for 50 credits. And they all just want to get rid of their weapons, apparently. And that was the worst part, really, for me, is they added that whole grabbing from the Force thing, and they didn't need to do that. Kylo could have just not thrown his only weapon away and then immediately needed it, and then they do their little hand Force trick. I hated that Force trick. Some people liked it. I don't. I don't like the matter of I don't like matter traveling through the Force. Force ghosts, fine. Force projections, fine. Actual physical matter, not a fan. I don't think that should be a thing in Star Wars. Personal opinion. Tell me if you share it. Leave it in the comments below. But yeah, that's overall. I give it a thumbs up. I like the movie. I really do. I'll watch it again. I'm seeing it again tomorrow. I might have some changed opinions then, but tell me what you thought. Put it in the comments below. I haven't been uploading a lot in a long time because I started Twitch streaming at twitch.tv/disagreeable, but I will be making videos again, I think, soon. From now on, I might work on videos and Twitch streaming at the same time. So leave a subscribe if you enjoyed this hot take of the Rise of Skywalker, and let me know in the comments what you think. I really, really, really want to hear some opinions on the things I've discussed here.